Skylar sat on the edge of her bed, surrounded by unpacked boxes that seemed to symbolize the merging of two lives. The scent of fresh paint lingered in the air, a reminder of the new house she and Bennett had moved into after their wedding. As she flipped through the pages of their photo album, a wave of nostalgia washed over her. "We're going to build a life together, Skylar," Bennett had whispered during their vows. "And part of that life includes taking care of my parents. It's a promise I made to them, and I hope you understand." Skylar, madly in love and eager to start this new chapter, had nodded in agreement. She envisioned a happy family, sharing laughter and responsibilities. Little did she know that this promise would soon become a heavy burden. Months passed, and Skylar observed the dynamics shifting in her new home. Bennett's parents, once warm and welcoming, started relying on Skylar for more than just emotional support. Soon, casual conversations turned into subtle hints about who would handle the household chores and financial responsibilities. One evening, as Skylar prepared dinner, Bennett's mother, Mrs. Thompson, entered the kitchen with a knowing smile. "Skylar, dear, you're doing such a wonderful job taking care of us. It's a relief to have you here." Skylar, wiping her hands on a dishcloth, smiled back, "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. I'm happy to help in any way I can." Little did she know that these seemingly innocent words would set the stage for a promise that would be stretched to its limits. As Skylar looked around at the family photos adorning the walls, she couldn't help but wonder how her commitment to care for her in-laws would shape the course of her married life. Skylar's mornings began with the faint smell of coffee and the rustling of bills that had become her responsibility. Bennett, once the primary breadwinner, now spent his days sending out resumes and attending job interviews. Skylar, while supportive, felt the financial strain seeping into their lives. One evening, as Bennett returned from yet another unsuccessful job interview, Skylar couldn't contain her concern any longer. She carefully broached the subject. "Bennett, we need to talk. I've noticed the changes and I'm worried about the bills piling up." Bennett sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I know, Skylar. It's just, I thought finding a new job would be easier. But we have savings, and I'll find something soon." Skylar nodded, trying to reassure him. "We'll get through this together. But we need to be open with each other about our financial situation." As weeks passed, Skylar's workload increased, juggling her job and the household expenses. Bennett, seemingly oblivious to the strain, spent more time engrossed in his own world, searching for jobs that never materialized. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day at work, Skylar found a note on the kitchen table. It was from Bennett. "Skylar, I've decided to take a break from the job hunt for a while. I need to clear my head and figure things out." Startled and frustrated, Skylar confronted him later that night. "Bennett, you can't just quit without discussing it with me. We have bills to pay, and I can't handle everything on my own." Bennett, looking somewhat distant, responded, "I've been working for so long without a break, Skylar. I need this. We have savings, and we'll be fine." Skylar felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, realizing that the promise she made to care for her in-laws was evolving into a one-sided commitment. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of the unseen changes that would reshape her married life. The once harmonious home Skylar envisioned had transformed into a battleground of manipulation and exploitation. Skylar's in-laws, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, seemed to have forgotten the initial promise of shared responsibilities, leaving Skylar to bear the weight alone. One evening, as Skylar returned home exhausted from work, she noticed the absence of the comforting aroma of home-cooked meals. Mrs. Thompson, instead of greeting her with a smile, casually mentioned, "Skylar, we thought you might be too tired to cook tonight, so we ordered takeout. Don't worry, we used the money from your joint account." Stunned, Skylar stammered, "But I had plans for that money. We need to budget carefully." Mrs. Thompson raised an eyebrow, her tone icy. "Skylar, We've been managing the household for years. We know how to handle finances. You just focus on your job." As days passed, Skylar's in-laws not only neglected their share of household chores, but also began demanding money for various expenses. The demands grew more audacious, and Skylar, feeling cornered, tried to reason with them. "Mrs. Thompson, I can't keep handing over money like this. It's affecting our savings," Skylar asserted. Mrs. Thompson retorted, "Skylar, dear, we're family now. Family supports each other. Money shouldn't be an issue." Feeling exploited and alone, Skylar confronted Bennett, hoping he would understand. "Bennett, your parents are taking advantage of our situation. I need your support." Bennett, seemingly indifferent, replied, "Skylar, they're my parents. We need to take care of them." The breaking point came when Skylar discovered her savings had been accessed without her permission. Shocked and betrayed, she confronted her in-laws, demanding an explanation. Mr. Thompson, with a smug smile, said, "Skylar, we thought it was time to upgrade a few things around here. Don't worry, it's for the benefit of the family." Skylar, feeling exploited and alone, realized the depth of the manipulation. The promise she made to care for her in-laws had turned into a nightmare, and she understood that drastic action was needed to reclaim control of her life. Skylar couldn't ignore the mounting pressure and disrespect any longer. The house, once filled with warmth, now echoed with the cold silence of unspoken grievances. She found herself at a breaking point, unable to bear the weight of unfulfilled promises. One evening, after a particularly taxing day at work, Skylar returned home to find her in-laws lounging in the living room, seemingly carefree. She took a deep breath, summoning the courage to address the issue head-on. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, we need to talk. This can't continue. The promises we made are being broken, and I can't carry this burden alone," Skylar asserted. Mrs. Thompson, with a dismissive wave of her hand, replied, "Skylar, you're overreacting. We're adjusting to the changes. You just need to be more understanding." Frustration bubbling within her, Skylar retorted, "Understanding doesn't mean being a doormat. I thought we were a team, working together. But it feels like I'm the only one trying." Mr. Thompson, adopting a condescending tone, chimed in, "Skylar, you knew what you signed up for when you married Bennett. Family takes care of family. You need to learn your place." Skylar's breaking point came when Mrs. Thompson, without a hint of remorse, demanded an additional monthly sum for family expenses. Skylar, fueled by a mixture of anger and desperation, stood her ground. "I can't keep giving you money like this. It's not fair, and it's affecting my well-being." "We need a fair distribution of responsibilities," Skylar exclaimed. Mrs. Thompson scoffed. "Responsibilities? We've been taking care of this family for years. You're just a newcomer. You should be grateful." Tears welled up in Skylar's eyes as the weight of unfulfilled promises and exploitation crashed down on her. She realized that her in-laws had no intention of acknowledging her struggles. Determined to break free from this toxic cycle, Skylar looked at Bennett and pleaded, "Bennett, please, we need to address this. I can't live like this anymore." Bennett, caught between his wife and his parents, hesitated. "Skylar, can't you just endure a little longer? They're my parents, and they need us." Skylar, her breaking point reached, responded with steely determination, "No, Bennett, this can't go on. It's time for a change, and if you can't see that, then maybe it's time for a change in a different direction." Skylar's ultimatum hung in the air, a heavy silence enveloping the room. The tension was palpable as she confronted Bennett about the unraveling promises and the toll it was taking on their marriage. "Bennett, we can't keep pretending that everything is okay. Your parents are exploiting us, and I won't stand for it any longer," Skylar declared, her voice firm. Bennett, torn between loyalty to his parents and the woman he married, hesitated. "Skylar, I understand your frustration, but they're my parents. We can find a compromise." Skylar, weary from shouldering the burden alone, shook her head. Compromise, Bennett? There's been no compromise. I've compromised my peace of mind, my savings, and now our marriage. Something has to change. The next evening, Skylar gathered the courage to address the issue directly with her in-laws. She found them in the living room, seemingly oblivious to the storm brewing. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, we need to have a serious conversation. I can't continue living like this. Your demands and disrespect are tearing our family apart, Skylar asserted. Mrs. Thompson, dismissing Skylar's concerns, responded casually, Skylar, dear, we're family. Families go through ups and downs. You just need to be patient. Skylar, fueled by frustration, shot back, this is not a temporary issue. This is a pattern of exploitation, and it needs to stop. I won't tolerate it any longer. The room grew tense as Skylar presented her ultimatum. Things need to change. We need a fair distribution of responsibilities, and your constant financial demands must end. If not, I can't continue in this marriage. Mr. Thompson, scoffing at Skylar's words, retorted, You're making a big deal out of nothing. We've taken care of this family for years. You're just a newcomer, and we know what's best. Skylar, her patience worn thin, shot back, I'm not a newcomer. I'm your daughter-in-law, and I won't let you destroy our marriage. If things don't change, Bennett and I will have to reassess our future together. As the ultimatum hung in the air, Skylar realized that her in-laws were unwilling to acknowledge the gravity of the situation. The fate of her marriage now rested on Bennett's response, and Skylar braced herself for the outcome. With the weight of her ultimatum hanging in the air, Skylar knew she had to take control of her life. The toxicity of her in-laws' exploitation had reached its peak, and she needed a fresh start. Determined, Skylar decided to execute her escape plan. Late one evening, she checked into a nearby hotel, the cool sheets a stark contrast to the suffocating atmosphere of her home. Alone in her room, she pondered her next move. The silence offered a respite, a chance to collect her thoughts and plan the path forward. The next day, Skylar visited a lawyer, her mind set on ending the tumultuous marriage. The attorney listened as Skylar poured out her frustrations. The story of promises broken and exploitation endured. The lawyer, empathetic, assured her that legal avenues would be explored to protect her rights. Meanwhile, back at the house, Bennett noticed Skylar's absence and the quiet emptiness that filled their home. Concerned, he tried calling her, but Skylar's phone remained unanswered. He paced the living room, grappling with the weight of the ultimatum she had presented. Mom, Dad, have you seen Skylar? Bennett asked, anxiety evident in his voice. Mrs. Thompson, dismissive as ever, replied, Oh, she probably needs some time to cool off. Don't worry, she'll be back. But Bennett, torn between loyalty to his parents and concern for his wife, couldn't shake the feeling that this time was different. Days turned into a week, and Skylar remained resolute in her decision. She focused on herself, on healing from the emotional toll of a marriage that had turned toxic. As Skylar took steps to reclaim her life, Bennett faced the harsh reality of the choices he had to make. In a phone call with Bennett, Skylar asserted her position, Bennett, I need time away to think about our future. I won't tolerate the exploitation any longer. We need to make some tough decisions. Bennett, realizing the gravity of the situation, pleaded, Skylar, please come back. We can figure this out together. I love you. Skylar, her voice steady, responded, Love is not enough. We need to address the underlying issues. I won't return until there's a commitment to change. As Skylar's escape plan unfolded, the stage was set for a transformation. The choices made in the coming days would shape the futures of Skylar and Bennett, testing the strength of love against the weight of broken promises. Skylar, determined to break free from the chains of a toxic marriage, embarked on a journey to find a place where she could rebuild her life. With a sense of empowerment, she visited a real estate agency, flipping through brochures and imagining a future where her choices were entirely her own. The real estate agent, sensing Skylar's determination, guided her through potential properties. This one has a spacious living room, a practical kitchen, and a walk-in closet. It's perfect for someone looking to start fresh, the agent suggested. Skylar, the weight of her decisions lifting, felt a surge of excitement. This is the one. I want a place where I can breathe freely without the constant demands and exploitation. As Skylar finalized the purchase of her new house, the realization dawned on her. This wasn't just a physical space, it was a symbol of her newfound independence. She wanted a life where her choices were respected, where promises were kept, and where she could rebuild her shattered confidence. Meanwhile, back at the house, Bennett faced the stark reality of Skylar's absence. He sat in the now eerily quiet living room, the empty spaces echoing the void left by Skylar's departure. Mrs. Thompson, unable to mask her annoyance, remarked, "Well, now that Skylar is gone, we can finally have some peace." Bennett, torn between loyalty to his parents and the realization of what he had lost, responded with a heavy sigh, "Mom, this is not what I wanted. Skylar had every right to be upset. I need to figure things out." Mrs. Thompson, dismissing Skylar's departure, retorted, "You don't owe her anything, Bennett. She's the one who left. You have us, your family." But Bennett, for the first time, questioned the meaning of family. Maybe Skylar had a point. Maybe we were asking too much. I need to find her and talk things through. As Skylar moved into her new house, the walls echoed with possibilities. She carefully selected furniture, each piece a symbol of her renewed sense of self. Skylar, surrounded by the quietude of her new home, realized that this space represented more than just a physical escape. It was a sanctuary for her soul. Back at the old house, Bennett made a decision. I need to find Skylar and apologize. I can't keep pretending that everything is okay. As the chapter unfolded, Skylar's new beginning and Bennett's realization set the stage for a confrontation that would shape the future of their relationship. The house Skylar had purchased was more than just a place. It was a declaration of her autonomy, a space where she could redefine the meaning of family and rebuild her life on her own terms. Skylar's new house stood as a testament to her courage and determination to break free from the toxic bonds that had ensnared her. As she settled into her new life, a wave of emotions and memories washed over her. The silence of her own space allowed her to reflect on the tumultuous journey that led her here. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow on Skylar's living room, memories of her past life with Bennett played like a film in her mind. She decided it was time to confront the past, to seek closure and pave the way for a brighter future. Skylar dialed Bennett's number, her hand trembling slightly. The phone rang, and Bennett's voice echoed through the line. "Hello." "Bennett, it's Skylar. We need to talk," she said, her voice steady but filled with the weight of unspoken emotions. Bennett, relieved to hear from her, responded, "Skylar, where are you? I've been worried sick." Skylar, looking around her new living room, replied, "I needed some space to think. Meet me at our old house. We need to confront the issues that tore us apart." As Bennett arrived at the old house, now devoid of the energy Skylar had brought into it, he was met with a somber atmosphere. Skylar stood near the entrance, the echoes of their shared past surrounding them. "Skylar, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I know things need to change," Bennett admitted, sincerity in his eyes. Skylar, ready to confront the past and move forward, responded, "Change is necessary, Bennett. But it has to come from a place of understanding and respect. I won't settle for anything less." The two entered the house, the air heavy with unspoken words. Mrs. Thompson, visibly annoyed by Skylar's return, remarked, "Well, look who decided to grace us with her presence again." Skylar, determined not to be swayed by the familiar hostility, addressed Bennett, "We can't ignore the issues any longer. The exploitation, the disrespect, it all needs to be addressed." Bennett, caught between loyalty to his parents and the woman he loved, sighed, "Skylar, I want us to work this out. But I also need my parents to understand that things can't go back to the way they were." Mrs. Thompson, dismissive as ever, interjected, "You're being too soft, Bennett. We've done nothing wrong." Skylar, her resolve unshaken, asserted, "If we're going to move forward, there has to be accountability. We can't ignore the past, but we can learn from it." As the trio navigated the delicate balance of confronting the past, Skylar hoped that this conversation would be the catalyst for real change. The house, once a battleground, became the arena for a crucial conversation that would determine the fate of Skylar and Bennett's relationship. The air in the old house felt charged as Skylar, Bennett, and Mrs. Thompson engaged in a conversation that had long been avoided. Skylar was determined to confront the injustices that had plagued their marriage, seeking resolution and accountability. Bennett, torn between his loyalty to his parents and the desire to salvage his marriage, spoke up, "Skylar, I hear you. Things can't continue like this, but I need you to understand. They're my parents." Skylar, unyielding, replied, "Bennett, I've tried to understand, but this can't be one-sided. For us to move forward, there has to be change, real change." Mrs. Thompson, defensive, retorted, "Change for what? We've been taking care of this family for years. What more do you want?" Skylar, her patience wearing thin, responded, "I want respect. I want boundaries. I want a partnership, not exploitation." The tension in the room escalated, and Skylar knew that for justice to be served, she had to lay bare the extent of the exploitation. She revealed how her savings had been accessed without permission, how she had been manipulated and disrespected. Bennett, shocked by the revelation, turned to his mother, "Mom, is this true? Did you access Skylar's savings without her consent?" Mrs. Thompson, cornered, avoided eye contact and mumbled, "It was for the family. She had savings, we needed them." Skylar, her voice unwavering, declared, "This isn't about family, it's about boundaries. I won't tolerate financial exploitation." Realizing the gravity of the situation, Bennett faced a choice: to stand by his parents or to stand up for the woman he loved. "Mom, Skylar is right. This has to stop. We can't go on like this." Skylar, sensing a potential breakthrough, added, "It's not about choosing sides. It's about building a healthier foundation for our marriage. If we can't do that, then maybe it's time to part ways." Bennett, caught between the love for his wife and the loyalty to his parents, sighed, "I need some time to think. But things have to change." As the conversation reached an impasse, Skylar, determined to seek justice for the years of exploitation, decided to involve the law. She called the police, explaining the situation and the unauthorized access to her savings. In the aftermath, justice was served. The police, acknowledging the financial misconduct, fined Mrs. Thompson, and the weight of the consequences began to sink in. Skylar, empowered by the pursuit of justice, felt a semblance of closure. As the chapter concluded, Skylar's quest for justice marked a turning point. The old house, once a battleground, now stood witness to accountability and the possibility of a new beginning. The future remained uncertain, but Skylar had reclaimed control over her life and paved the way for a more just and respectful path forward.